Hi, it's Jack, and here's a bonus podcast for you looking at Laura Owens and a bankruptcy hearing she was in. She has to answer under oath. I think it's fascinating the way the words come out. This is a recording of a live that I did, so you can't interact live, but do let me know. Get in touch on the socials if you have any comments or observations on it. Enjoy. This is the most requested subject of the week, and it's here and it's live. It's Laura Owens being questioned at her bankruptcy hearing earlier on this week. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're new here, what I do is different from anywhere else because I focus only on the words said by the person at the centre of the story, and then I analyse those words to see the truth hidden inside them. It's a process that I use with corporate clients, with investigators, and with the media to get a deep understanding of what is really being said. And what is great about this statement, these answers, is Laura is answering questions under oath, which means there is a big incentive to be telling the truth.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Welcome then, and let's dig into the world of Laura Owens. We are live, and the reason that I am live is because I love your interaction. I love your thoughts. So if you're watching live, do get involved in the chat. Introduce yourself, say hello, have discussions amongst yourselves. I know there's some breaking news on this case, which you might find worth discussing about Laura's attorney. This is why I should never do things that are outside my area of expertise. Laura's attorney, David Gingras, has returned to represent her. And they've filed a motion to dismiss Clayton's debt, which is subjects we're going to be talking about in this episode. So if you are there in the chat, then do get involved and we'll look at some of your comments as we go. If you're part of the replay crew, then do get involved in the comments as well. I love to hear what you think. And this, my passion is all about getting this kind of learning out to the world. So if you like this, it signals, send this to more people. If you leave comments, it says, send this to more people. And also there's a lot of people interested in this case, as I know, because this week I got lots of messages saying, I think you should look at this. So please feel free to share it with people as well. All those send signals to the lovely algorithms and they help get this message out to as many people as possible. So let's look at Laura Owens. And she was in court this week as part of her bankruptcy proceedings. And she was questioned by an attorney representing Clayton Echard, her nemesis, her arch enemy. We'll come on to that when we look at her words. So what we're going to do is listen to how she answers the questions and break down what could be going on. Now, I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, she contradicted her evidence or her testimony or a deposition or also, you know, something she submitted to court. And that's not in this. So what we're going to try and look at is what she says in this hearing. If you've got any more information, feel free to discuss it, but I'm going to look at what she says inside this hearing. So if you're ready, let's listen to the start of the question and answers.
Ms. Owens, have you been advised of your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent?
No, I have not. I don't have an attorney in this matter.
All right. In your bankruptcy petition, you filled out what's known as Form 107, which is an income statement. Do you recall doing that?
Yes.
And page 2 of that statement asks, did you have any income during this year or the 2 previous calendar years? Why did you answer no?
Because I personally do not have any income and have not for the last 2 years.
Did you testify in June of 2024 that you had approximately $200,000 per year of income with your business partner?
With my mother, and that's all gone directly to the LLC. Nothing's been paid to me personally.
So is it your testimony that you received no income from any of the LLCs that you listed in your petition?
Correct.
In March or April of 2024, you stated in an affidavit that you had $450,000 in cash in an account. Where's that money now?
As Mr. Echard knows, that was never my money. That was an investor's money. He was going to provide the down payment for the houses I was looking at with him. He spoke to that investor, and he knows that.
Where's that money now?
It didn't belong to me. It was an investor's account. It was an investor's account. He was an investor who was going to provide me the down payment. I have no idea what the guy has done with the money.
Right, let's dig into that because there is a lot there in that opening, minute and a half or something like that. The first question, Miss Owens, have you been advised of your Fifth Amendment rights? She says, which is a sign that she's thinking about her answer. That's not to say she's lying, it's just thinking about the answer. I think what we will see here, look, someone is in a hearing, it's a bankruptcy hearing. That is a nervous time for anyone. Probably especially for Laura, but a nervous time for anyone. So there is going to be some trepidation, and it's in your interest to think about the answer deeply, which is why you might get an while your brain is thinking and forming the words that you want to say in your head. And her response after the is, no, I have not. Now, that is just a little bit of interest to me. It's not the more relaxed, no, I haven't. It's the more formal, I have not. And why do we use that more formal I have not? Well, it could be just to sound more serious. And there's be a lot of to be gained from sounding serious in a very serious court hearing like this. So not being slangy, but saying, no, I have not. It also can be used to convince someone if you are lying or deceiving, because that we tend to think that more formal language is a little bit more believable. I'm not saying that's the case here. What I'm saying is she's not gone to the slangy, I have not. And the next thing she says after that is, I don't have an attorney in this matter. So she uses the shortened version there by saying, I don't have an attorney in this matter. So that I have not, non-contracted, all very formal, is kind of at odds with the I don't have an attorney in this matter. All right, says the attorney, in your bankruptcy petition, you filled out what's known as a Form 107, which is an income statement. Do you recall doing that? And her reply is yes. That's what the truth sounds like. I was on social media just before we did this. Mark Bowden, who you may know from the behavior panel. If you don't know, he's a behavior expert, and he'd sent a message on whichever social media I was looking at. I'm sorry, I can't remember precisely which one, but his message was about behavior and body language, and it was, confidence is quiet. And when we think of that in words terms, confidence doesn't come through in someone being loud and using lots of words and lots of, colorful language and so on. Confidence comes through in our language in a quiet way. Very direct answers, very short answers. And that is there. That's what that yes is. I believe that yes. It's all the signals, all the hallmarks of truth. Do you recall doing that? Yes. Don't forget, she's under oath. So therefore, lying is out of the question. I'm not saying anyone would lie about this question, but we will really want to stick to the truth. That's where life is a hell of a lot easier. And here we can see what the truth looks like when Laura is talking, which is this really short answer, yes. The next question, and page 2 of that statement asks, did you have any income during this year or the 2 previous calendar years? Why did you answer no? I want you to see there that there is just one question there, which is, why did you answer no? She's not being asked to justify her answer or anything like that. Her response is, again, thinking time, because I personally do not have any income and have not for the last 2 years. That word personally gets me, because it's an ly word, and words that end in ly always get me interested, because I personally do not have any income and have not for the last 2 years. Now, personally doesn't need to be there. It's a personal bankruptcy hearing. So it's all about her income. But she wants to just make sure that rather than saying, I do not have any income, which by, just the words there means she is talking about it personally, she wants to make really sure, really, really clear that she's talking in a personal capacity here. I personally do not have any income. And then she carries on and says, and have not for the last 2 years. And we've got, again, this formal language, and have not for the past 2 years. Let's hear it for Sheila, who is a regular. And Sheila, I will say it here, thank you so much for everything you do to spread the word around Never a Truer Word. We don't like LYs words round here, says Sheila. It's not that we don't like them, it's just when we see them, we dig into them and say, what do they mean? What do they signify? And here, I think this is a need to persuade and a need to define. And I think there's a lot of that going on with Laura, as defining what she is talking about. It's a need to define, I don't have any income personally. The attorney carries on. Did you testify in June of 2024 that you had approximately $200,000 per year of income with your business partner? Now, this is a yes, no question. This can be answered very simply, just like the question before. Do you remember testifying or filling in your form? Yes, I do. Did you testify that you had approximately $200,000 per year of income with your business partner? That could be answered really simply with the truth, which could be, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. And instead, we get a lot more words than that. The first one is with my mother. And that's all gone directly to the LLC. Nothing is being paid to me personally. And we've got that word personally again there. So she really wants to get across that she's talking in personal terms here. And then that with my mother is interesting because the mother is the business partner. So there's truth here. I'm not saying any of this is a lie, but she has decided to redefine or clarify business partner is mother. And I want to kind of think, why is that? Why is she wanting to say with my mother? Is this to make it seem like a bit more of a family arrangement, a bit more of a friendly relationship, or to make it sound like the sort of mom and pop business, if you know what I mean? You know, this was not serious business. This was, you know, something that I did with my mother. We don't know. I can't mind read, but I can say it is important to her to clarify that her business partner is her money. And again, nothing's being paid to me personally. Again, she wants to really clarify she's talking about herself here for some reason. It's important to her. And that's what we can get from this. It's important to her to say she is talking personally. And she wants to get across that nothing's being paid to me personally. The question then is, so is it your testimony that you received no income from any of the LLCs that you listed in your petition? And she says, correct. Now, again, that's a very short answer, directly answers the question. So the previous one was a yes-no question, and there was no yes-no there, to say, which would give me confidence that I'm getting a really direct answer to the question. Here, I do get a direct answer to the question, or the attorney gets a direct answer to the question. I'm not building my part up and saying I'm the arbiter of all questions and answers. It's just that correct there. Interesting. The question is, so it's your testimony. And she's saying, that's correct. That is my testimony, not that's a fact. That's what I'm saying. I know you could consider those are the same things because testimony should be truth. So your testimony should be facts. But she is agreeing that that's her testimony. She's then asked, and in March or April of 2024, you stated in an affidavit that you had $450,000 in cash in an account. Where's that money now? And the answer is, as Mr. Eckert knows, that was never my money. That was an investor's money. He was going to provide the down payment for the houses I was looking at with him. He spoke to that investor and he knows that. So you'll see the question is, where's that money now? And we don't get an answer. We get no answer at all to where the money is now. It's not directly addressed at all. Instead, she decides to talk about something else entirely, which is Clayton Eckert. And that is the second concept. The first concept she brings up in the answer is him. And I see this time and time again when I look at her words, is she brings Clayton Eckert into it wherever she can. She's really, really hung up on this guy. And it's the first thing she mentions in response to this question. As Mr. Eckert knows, that was never my money. Sheila, I'm sure, is in the chat saying never. Never is another word that we don't like around here. Never is a word that appears so often in deception. Just like here, it doesn't prove deception is happening. But when you hear the word never, dig in around the never to see, could we possibly be getting any deception going on here? Because it's a word that sounds dead solid. It sounds really, really solid. Never means not at any time, but we use it in a really loose way when we talk. Now, you'll notice as well with that answer to the question, as Mr. Eckert knows, that was never my money. That was an investor's money. He was going to provide the down payment for the houses I was looking at with him. He spoke to that investor and he knows that. By the way, he was going to provide the down payment for the houses, suggests that this investor that she's talking about is a male, because I wondered if it could be her mom, but no, it looks like what she's referring to here is a male. Going back to the answer to the question, not only does she not answer the question, she doesn't deny the assertion in the question. The assertion in the question is you stated in an affidavit that you had $450,000 of cash in an account. And she doesn't quibble with that. What she quibbles with is that Mr. Eckert knows that was never her money. The attorney realizes that he hasn't had an answer to the question. I wonder if he wants a job on this channel. He's very good with words. So he asks the question again, where's that money now? And Laura's response is, it didn't belong to me. It was an investor's account. It was an investor's account. She says it twice. He was the investor who was going to provide me the down payment. I have no idea what the guy has done with the money. Now, again, I want you to just say, where's that money now? We haven't got any clearer towards that whatsoever. I understand in the story that she's telling, she doesn't know where that money is, but she doesn't say that. She doesn't say the money was withdrawn from her or that the investor said, I'm going to do something else with my money or anything like that. She talks about something else entirely rather than the position of the money. So the story that she's telling here means that this is just, again, really important for her to get across in this theatre of the bankruptcy hearing. She repeats, it was an investor's account. It was an investor's account. When we repeat things, there's several things could be going on. Number one could be, we've run out of things to say. Our brain cannot come up fast enough with new things to say. So what we tend to do sometimes is just repeat what we've said before. We are flapping away inside our heads, trying to think, what do I want to say here? And when those words won't form, or we've got a couple of choices and we're not sure which one is best, then we just repeat what we've said before. However, it sounded to me when I listened to it, like she felt like she'd misspoke when she said it was an investor's account, or said the wrong thing, and wanted to correct herself. But no correction came. She just said the same thing again. And the last thing I want to point out about this answer here is she says, I have no idea what the guy has done with the money. Very rarely in our lives do we have no idea. Truthful people don't mind saying, I don't know. So I could say to you, because I do not know this situation at all, I don't know where that money's gone, that $450,000. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it's gone. I can easily say, I don't know. I have no idea. It's very much the same thing, but it's working harder. It's not just, I don't know. It's like, I have no idea. No idea. Just no idea at all. And when you think about it in your life, just think very hard about when you use no idea. We've always got an idea. You know, like, oh, I've lost my phone. Where did you have it last? I've no idea. Well, you've got an idea, haven't you? Because you had it that morning when you were out, or it was next to your bed when you woke up. You have some ideas, but what we use no idea to mean I've nothing useful to say. There's nothing I want to say to that. So again, it doesn't prove someone's lying, but I have no idea is always an indicator of, is there a bit more going on here? The questioning continues, and the attorney says, when you represented that the money in that account belonged to you, were you not telling the truth? And she says, I did not represent that the money belonged to me. And again, we have this formal thing. I did not represent that the money belonged to me. All I can say from that is she has a real need to persuade there that the money did not belong, that she did not represent that the money belonged to her. And she is wanting to be very clear and very firm in that, which is why we get that formal language again. It's very important to her to get that point across. The questioning goes on. What is Liz Max Investments LLC? She says, it's my mom's LLC. Do you currently have an interest in that LLC? I do not, is what she says. Once more, you're probably shouting at it with me now. Here we have, once again, that very formal I do not. And if you've seen the whole questioning, then you probably have got to the same place as me with this. She's asked, do you have an interest in that LLC? And she doesn't say, I don't know what an interest is. What do you mean by interest? Legally, I do not understand what an interest is. Or she doesn't say, I've never got any money from it, so I'm not interested in it at all. She says, I do not. And we can take the inference from that. I do not consider that I have an interest in that LLC. Have you had an interest in that LLC in the past? Is the next question. And she says, I started that LLC with my mother. It's a yes or no question. And we worry when we don't get a yes or no in the first few answers of the first few words of the response. So instead of, have you had an interest in that LLC in the past? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. We get, I started that LLC with my mother. Again, bringing mom into the story. I started that LLC with my mom. We purchased the one home together through Liz Max LLC, and that money was only provided by my mother. The down payment was provided by her own personal funds. So we'll see here, they did some things together. We can see the use of pronouns there. We purchased one home together. We is great for couples and, you know, people like mothers and daughters and so on. It shows they were acting together because it's not she and I purchased one home together, or my mom and me purchased one home together. We is a really good joint thing. When we hear couples talking about we, it says they are together in lockstep. And she even uses the word together. We purchased one home together through Liz Max LLC. And that money was only provided by my mother. Now, this is where it starts to get very interesting, because remember I said earlier, she's really keen to say it was personal. And she was talking personally here. Here, although we've got that we purchased one home together through Liz Max, then she really wants to split it out again. That down payment was provided by her own personal funds. Nothing to do with me. Her personal funds. Personal is very important to all of this. Mom's personal money, my personal money. And I get what she's saying. I think there's cleaner ways of saying it. Like, you know, my mom made the investment in the business to put the down payment down. That would be very cleaner. But I do think, and I think this is what Laura is doing here, is being very prescribed about what she says so that she can get caught up in loopholes later on. The lawyer, again, this guy's good. He realizes he hasn't had an answer. So at one point in time, did you have an interest in that LLC? A yes, no question again. And we don't get a yes or a no. She says, I was listed on the LLC. I was never paid out of that LLC. So here she's trying, I think, to not answer the question about interest now. Even though she did previously answer the question about interest, she doesn't want to say yes because that means she has an interest here. She says, I was listed on the LLC, and that's although there's no yes there, again, it's really straightforward. I was listed on the LLC. And I'm guessing that is damn true, and would be really hard to lie about without being caught out. So yeah, we just there, but there's no need to persuade words in there. There's no qualification or anything like that. Dead straight. But the next part isn't. I was never paid out of that LLC. So I was never, we've got that word never again, which means, are we getting the truth here? Like, is she using never? Like we expect never should be used? Or is this a looser part of never? We don't have an answer here, but when we see never, we go, and paid out of that LLC. Now, look at the question. The question doesn't mention being paid out at all. It says, did you have an interest in that LLC? Not, where did you get paid out? It's not, did you have an interest or get paid out by that LLC? It's just, did you have an interest? She raises paid out here. I think trying to reframe the question a little bit and say, look, you ask about interest. I want to talk about being paid out. I was never paid out of that LLC. He's back again, but you did have an interest, correct? Yes or no question. And once more, we don't get a yes or no. She says, I don't even understand legally what it would mean to have an interest since I have never made money from it. I never provided money into the account. I mean, anyone can start an LLC in the state. That doesn't mean they're making money from it. Let's break all of that down. I don't even understand legally what it would mean to have an interest. Now, if you've ever been a witness in court and you have to tell the truth, do you think about legal terms or are you just trying to convey information with which you want to get across the very most helpful version of the facts as you know them? Or do you want to parse it down into legal terms? I don't even understand legally what it would mean to have an interest since I never made money from it. I never provided money into the account. So what she's saying there is, I don't understand what legally would mean, but I'm going to tell you that I never made money from it. I never provided money from it. So what she's saying there is therefore I didn't have an interest because what she's saying is I don't understand because I never made money or provided money. Logically, that doesn't make more sense, but the impression there is I don't know what you mean by interest. I never made money. I never provided money. And then she says into the account, which means she has knowledge of an account. I'm guessing the bank account associated with that LLC, which is there. So a little bit of something there that says to me there is knowledge there of the business, the account. And then she talks just in big general terms. I mean, anyone can start an LLC in the state. That doesn't mean they're making money from it. I guess that's true. In fact, I know that's true. Anyone can start anyone can start an LLC. It doesn't mean they're making money from it. But this is irrelevant, and this is just this attempt to reframe the question. The question is about having an interest, and she is saying she wants to talk about making money and providing money. Also, making money is an interesting one because making money can be thought of, and there's just a personal definition at play here. Making money can be thought of as being making a profit, like a company that is able to pay loads and loads of money because I've made money, so we bought a house for X and we sold it for 2 times X. That's making money by some definitions, rather than earning a wage or an income from it, which is being paid by the company. Those are potentially 2 slightly different things. Attorney's back. All I'm asking is if you had an interest in the LLC. And here it starts to get a bit stuttery. She says, I truly, as a non-lawyer, do not understand what it would mean to have an interest in the LLC if I'm not making any money from it or providing money. There's nothing financially to do with anything. And here you can see it's all starting to fall apart. That last sentence, there's nothing financially to do with anything, doesn't make sense. It's like the filter has stopped in the brain, and the words that she thought are not good ones to say, actually, they're now just coming out. There's nothing financially to do with anything. And that answer just fades out. That's when someone fades out when they're talking, suggests low commitment to what they're saying. That's stuttering at the start as well. I truly, as a non-lawyer, do not understand what it would mean to have an interest in the LLC if I'm not making any money from it or providing money. Well, listen, if you thought having an interest in an LLC meant that you had to either make money from it or provide money towards it, then your answer is no. And you could say that. But no, we're getting all sorts of parsing here. But remember, earlier, do you currently have an interest in that LLC? I do not. Now she doesn't want to answer that question. Okay, do you recall when you transferred your interest in Lizmax? She says, again, like I said, I think it was March of 24. We've listened to all the testimony and I've read out all the testimony. She hasn't said March of 24 at all in this testimony, but she's saying, again, like I said. People who are being deceptive love telling us they've said the thing before. They think it makes it sound more believable if they say things more than once, and even more believable if they point out how consistent they've been and how they've said it before. That could be what's happening here, or maybe it's the fact that there is something in the papers that she's filed that says that it was March of 24. But you'll notice that real here, compared to some of those quite solid answers we've heard before, it's all starting to fall apart. Let's look at how kind of flimsy this next bit is. Well, in fact, let's look at the first part. I think it was March 24. So it's just, I think. We haven't really had that before. We've had real solid certain language. There was an issue with the paperwork that it didn't get recorded in 24. My name was taken, or until July, I believe, of 24. So we've got an I believe there, that my name was taken off it. But the paper was filed in the county in March of 24. And they would be able to state I submitted it incorrectly. So she transferred her interest, and she is saying, yeah, I did it in March 24, but she refused to confirm that she had an interest in this company before. She's really playing games with the answer to, do you have an interest? Because at one point she says, I do not. Then she goes for the more, I don't know what you mean by interest. And then when did you transfer your interest? March 24. Although really it was July 24 is what she said. But she's saying this with such little confidence with all these I believe, I thinks. But also what I picked out there was they would be able to state I submitted it incorrectly. So she is saying there that she was doing some actions there to transfer that interest. The attorney continues, you also listed an interest in your petition in a company called Keybacker Incorporated. What is that? Keybacker was an idea for a company that I had that never got off the ground. And all of a sudden, we're back on pretty damn solid language again. And what that says to me is we can see when she's shaky, when she's not so certain of what she's saying, and when she's really solid. Look, no persuasive words, nothing in there to make us wonder what is going on, no thinks or I believes or anything like that. Key backer was an idea for a company that I had that never got off the ground. Do you have a current interest in that company? She says, no. So she knows what an interest is again. Now she knows what an interest is again. I mean, it doesn't operate. And then we get some more woolly language. I don't believe it's current or has been. Well, that's quite strange. How is something has been current? Because it just doesn't hang together. But I don't believe it's current or has been. And I don't believe if you're not sure and you're under oath, I don't believe it's a great thing to say. Because who can prove what you believe or what you don't believe? You can't get pulled up later on and someone says, you said it was not current. No, I said I don't believe it's not current. I didn't say for a fact. You also listed one called Stylet LLC. I may not be pronouncing that correctly, said the attorney. So did Jack. She says, yeah, another one that never got off the ground. What do you think? That seems, again, quite straightforward, although we do have that word never in there. Did Stylet get further than the other one? What was the other one called? Keybacker? I don't know. But do let me know in the comments if you know that if Stylet went further than Keybacker. Do you have a current interest in Stylet? Again, I don't think that's current either. It's the same answer as before. Once more, though, it's that I don't think, which just leaves it open for the fact it could be, but she hasn't told any lies under oath. Okay, that last one you listed is called Quartet Farms LLC. What is that? That's a business that my mom started herself in December of 2014 for horses. Do you have an interest in Quartet Farms? I do not. You will see there that we've got the same things going on again. My mom started herself. That herself does not need to be there. It only displays what is important to be conveyed here. If she said that's a business my mom started herself in December 2014 for horses, it is the exact same meaning as if she said my mom started in December 2014 for horses. But to add those extra words in shows it's a real priority to get across. Do you currently have an interest in Quartet Farms? I do not, is what she says. Let's listen to some more of the testimony now as it continues. And I'm also going to have a look at see if any of your comments shed any light on what's been going on. But this is the next part of the questioning at the bankruptcy hearing.
Does Quartet Farms have any valuable assets?
Quartet Farms has if you want to consider it valuable, a 20-year-old show horse and 7 horses who are in their late 20s. It's an LLC of horses that were never paid for by me ever in my life, and nothing would be able to be tracked to me because nothing was paid for by me. I have no assets. I know what you guys are getting at. I have literally 0 assets.
I'm just asking some questions so I can understand your estate.
I don't have one. As you know, this case has decimated my ability to make any income. I have none, and I truly believe you guys are trying to embarrass me by trying to make that point.
Right. So what do we get to with that one? I mean, this was super interesting to me to look at this. Does Quartet Farms have any valuable assets? The answer is Quartet Farms has, if you want to consider it valuable, a 20-year-old show horse and 7 horses who are in their late 20s. Now, from being really picky about the legal definition of interest, she doesn't seem to be quite so picky about the definition of valuable, there will be one. And it's only if you want to consider it valuable. She's not saying she considers it valuable, but you might want to consider it valuable. What she doesn't want to say is, yes, it has valuable assets. I don't know why, because she's not part of that anymore, apparently, as she said. But she goes extra. So that first paragraph is a fair answer to the question. Quartet Farms has, if you want to consider it valuable, a 20-year-old show horse and 7 horses who are in their late 20s. That would neatly box off an answer to that question. I would have question marks over why she doesn't just tell us if something is valuable or tell us the value of something. But that's a neat enough answer. But then she goes extra, and this shows what her priorities are. Because when we go extra, is to get across a point we want to make, especially in a question and answer situation, especially in court when she has to sort of answer the questions and deal with the questions and can't ask questions back or so on, because it's very much one-way questioning. Going extra allows us to say the things that are important to us, maybe also the things we've prepared to that we want to say beforehand. I'm not saying either of those things are the case here. I'm just giving you why these things could happen. And this extra can be instructive. It's an LLC of horses that were never paid for by me ever in my life, and nothing would be able to be tracked to me because nothing was paid by me. Wow. So let's just go. We've got a never in there. Again, never paid for by me ever in my life. Now that is overkill. Never paid for by me ever in my life. The 3 nevers really in there. Never paid for me ever. And then in my life is the same kind of thing there. So she really wants to be clear, really wants to give the impression, really wants to make sure that it's been heard that she never paid for those things ever in her life. And we have to decide, is that because it's a lie? And when we tell lies, we tend to over-egg the pudding. Or is it just damn important to someone who's in a bankruptcy hearing to make really, really clear that none of those horses were paid for me? I'm really nervous about this. I'm going to work too hard with my words to try and convince this person. I don't know the answer, but the next part really, really, really concerns me. Nothing would be able to be tracked to me because nothing was paid for by me. Who thinks about how payments could be tracked? You know, who thinks that way? It's not, I didn't pay anything. It's nothing would be able to be tracked to me. That's like a line from a movie. You know, about someone using a gun or something like that. Are we all right? Yeah, nothing can be tracked to me. It's a line that bad guys use all the time, and Laura is using it here in court. Nothing would be able to be tracked to me. But then she wants to go on again to say, you know, nothing was ever paid in my life, and she wants to build on this. Nothing was paid for by me, which is what she says. I have no assets. I know where you guys are getting at. I have literally 0 assets. So she really wants to get across. No assets. Nothing was paid for by me. Nothing was paid for by me. She said those things several times, and just, I don't know, what's that, 20, 30 words there. Interesting. I know where you guys are getting at, is what she says. Now, this is one person sitting, asking her the question, but she widens it out and uses this plural, you guys. Who's you guys? Is it Marcus, the attorney, and his boss who was there? Or is Clayton coming into this again here when she refers to you guys? Does she think this is something personal from Clayton, which is the reason why this is happening? Because she's not addressing this just to the attorney asking her the question. She's then asked, I'm just asking some questions so I can understand your estate. She says, I don't have one. As you know, this case has, and then I think the word is decimated, but someone joins on Zoom, so there's a bing bong over it. So if it's not decimated, I'm sorry. My ability to make any income, I have none. And I truly believe you guys are trying to embarrass me to make that point. Let's break all of that down. As you know, this case has done something to my ability to make any income. It's not the bankruptcy case, which is the one she's currently sitting in, where she's using the present tense, this case. It's not that one she's talking about, is it? Because the bankruptcy is saying I have no income. She's talking about the Clayton Echard case, isn't she? And she's talking about it in the present tense, and as being the case. She, as we've seen when she mentioned Clayton so early, consumed, I believe, with that case, is very, very central to her and her being, that even in something as important as a bankruptcy hearing, she refers to this case as the Clayton Echard one. It suggests to me it really, really reigns supreme inside her head. So it's decimated or something, my ability to make any income. I have none. Now, that is quite simple and straightforward. I have none. I believe, as she sits there, she has no income. That's very, very straightforward. And then I truly believe you guys are trying to embarrass me by trying to make that point. I truly believe. Now, when we tell someone truly, it's an LY word. If you take something away from this, take away LY words. I truly believe you guys are trying to embarrass me. So you guys, again, talking not just to the person asking her the question, but this wider you guys, which I believe probably includes Clayton, because I think Clayton is big up there for her, are trying to embarrass me by trying to make that point, which is kind of interesting, the whole logic that goes on there, because she's made the point. She's the one making the point. I have none. They are just trying to ask questions and find the answers to this question. She's the one that keeps saying, I have none. And I believe you guys I truly believe, so she's being persuasive. I'm not sure she does that. I think what she's signaling here is this is getting very embarrassing to me. A quick pause there. If you're finding this useful, following the podcast really helps, because you get to hear this kind of language regularly. You don't learn everything in one episode. You just start noticing patterns over time. And the more often you hear them, the more obvious they become without you even trying. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, following the show means new episodes land automatically, and you keep building your skills in seeing and hearing deception, the truth, credibility, and manipulation in someone's words. Right, let's get back to it. After she's claimed that they're trying to embarrass her, she said, she's told, again, I'm not trying to embarrass you. All I'm doing is asking questions to understand your bankruptcy estate. Do you currently own any horses? She says, no, I don't. Have you listed or sold any horses in the past 2 years? She says, no, I have not. Have you ever competed with any horses in the past 2 years? She says, yes, I have. Well, right. We all know she's competed with horses, yes. So there's a truthful answer. And it has the hallmarks of the truthful answer I've been talking about. Confidence is quiet. Yes, I have. And so do the questions before. Do you currently own any horses? No, I don't. And it's don't. It's not no, I do not. Have you listed or sold any horses in the past 2 years? No, I have not. So it's a little bit more formal, but these are really short answers, nothing extra, nothing to give us this need to persuade that she's never spent money on anything and she's got no assets and you're trying to embarrass me. And she is being honest there, I believe. She doesn't own any horses. She hasn't listed or sold any horses in the past 2 years. And she has competed with horses in the past 2 years. And then it gets different because the pattern's broken. Have you sold any equipment or for supplies for horses for equine sports in the last 2 years? And she says that are owned by my family's LLC. Yes, I've never paid for anything. Such a shortish answer, but interesting. That were owned. And then she corrects herself to that are owned by my family's LLC. So she's taken it out the past and put it into the present. That were owned, that are owned. Yes, I've never paid for anything. Now, that's really important for her to say she's never paid for anything. She was not asked in the question about paying for anything. It was, have you sold anything? And this is something that is obviously really important for her to bring into the conversation again. I've never paid for anything. Okay, so you've listed and sold property from the LLC. There was a 15-year-old saddle. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but and she's told, I don't know what I'm trying to get at because I don't know what they've sold. That's why I'm asking you the question. And then she says, that's all I've sold. That's all I've sold. So we've got that repeating thing again. Let's pause. And then she says, of any value. Well, that's a qualifier. And what is value? Who considers what value is? It's a personal definition there from Laura of what she considers value. But what she's saying is the saddle is the only thing she sold of any value, not the only thing she's sold. If she considers anything else she sold isn't of any value, but where does value start? What is value? The saddle is the only thing she sold of any value, but I think it would not surprise me if she has sold other things and she's able to say, I didn't consider them of value. I said the saddle was the only thing of value. Those other things that you found I sold, I didn't consider them of value. I told the truth. The next question from the attorney. In the summer of 2024, you were removed as a member of Quartet Farms LLC. Do you recall why? Then we get into this really strange thing of, it was an issue. I think are you talking about the United States Equestrian Federation? No, he wasn't. I'm talking about Quartet Farms LLC. With the United States Equestrian Federation, she asks, The attorney decides to be a little bit firmer with his questioning. The articles of organization were amended and you were removed as a member. And she says, well, we didn't know I was ever listed as a member, or I didn't know. Interesting correction. We didn't know I was ever listed as a member. And then she corrects it to say, I didn't know. Well, look, we all misspeak. We do all You've noticed in this episode, I've misspoken several times and corrected myself. Is that what's going on here? Well, we should really deal into why people misspeak. Normally, that thing I talked about, the sort of filter where we're going, what do I talk about here? What are the right words to use here? Sometimes that's just bypassed by sheer cognitive load. The words just have to come out. So we didn't know could be instructive. We didn't know. I don't know who we is, but it's her and someone else. And that was her instinctive answer. And she realizes that doesn't sound quite right. And she says, or I didn't know. She carries on. My mom had at some point, I believe, put me on there since I was providing expertise in terms of horses. But again, it wasn't like I've been getting paid. I've never been paid a cent out of it. So once more, she doesn't just answer that question crisply. My mom took me off it. But she actually talks about being put on it. My mom at some point, I believe, put me on since I was providing expertise. It wasn't like I've been getting paid. I've never been paid a cent out of it. It's the exact same stuff that she wants to go through. One last bit. We're going to listen to the closing part of all of this questioning. And this is where it gets even more interesting, if that's possible.
So, last question. Your testimony is that you have not had any income in the past 2 years?
No, I have not.
And you understand that you're under oath?
Tell me where the money is then. I haven't made any money.
The only reason I'm asking is because you did testify numerous occasions in 2024 that you had income at that time. Is that correct?
That I had businesses with my mom.
Okay. And that was less than 2 years ago, correct?
That I had businesses with my mom. My expenses have been paid for living by my parents. That's what I've gotten in exchange.
All right. Now, Mr. Haley, I think that's about as far as we need to go today.
Thank you very much for the interesting end to the questioning there. So, last question. You'll notice it wasn't his last question, by the way. We'll pull him up for that later. Your testimony is that you have not had any income in the past 2 years. She says, no, I have not. And you understand that you're under oath. And we don't get a yes to that question. Or a no. No, I don't understand what that means. Or a yes, I understand. We get an outburst. Well, tell me where the money is then. Now, that is all very interesting. Where the money is then? The money is a concept. It's a thing. Is it a challenge, that outburst? Tell me where the money is then. I know where the money is. There is the money. The money is a thing. You've just got to tell me where it is. You can't tell me where it is because I've sat and told you that I have not paid any money in and I've not had any money out. Is that what that is? But the phrase, the money, suggests to me there is some money. I'm not saying she's got it. Maybe it's gone somewhere else. Maybe it's all been spent. Maybe that's what's happened. But she does seem to have some concept of the money. The money was not brought up by the attorney. The money is something that she's volunteered there. I haven't made any money, she said. And we've got that same thing there of what's making money. Is it putting savings away? Is it making enough profit that you are earning more than you need to spend or something like that? That could be thought of as making money, whereas getting a wage or getting some money out of the business is being paid money. The attorney says, the only reason I'm asking is because you did testify on numerous occasions in 2024 that you had income at that time. Is that correct? It's a yes, no question. And once more, we don't get yes or no. I would say rewatch this. And every time I say it's a yes, no question and we don't get a yes or no, you're learning something. You're learning something that she doesn't want to say under oath when she's being questioned here. She says that I had businesses with my mom. It doesn't even make sense, that answer, grammatically, or just in any way. I know the impression she wants to give is, I've said before, I testified that the businesses I had with my mom made that money, not that I personally made that money and it was paid into my bank account like a wage or anything like that, earnings from a business. She just says that I had businesses with my mom. She only talks about the businesses with her mom, not the money part of the whole question, the income part of the question. And that was less than 2 years ago, correct, says the attorney, that I had businesses with my mom. She repeats herself. I think what she's trying to say is that I had businesses with my mom less than 2 years ago. And then she says, my expenses have been paid for living by my parents. That's what I've gotten in exchange. So she doesn't answer the question. This was less than 2 years ago, is not brought out at all. It's just, that was less than 2 years ago. I had businesses with my mom. My expenses have been paid for by my parents. That's what I got in exchange. I'm no lawyer. I don't know if that equals income. You know, my expenses have been paid for. Not my mom and dad gave me bed and board. My expenses have been paid for by my parents. That's what I've got in exchange. And it's all brought to an end. You guys have been doing something brilliant. I've been keeping an eye on them all. I haven't been able to pull too many apart. Sheila thinks, is she throwing mom under the bus? I'm not so sure, Sheila. I think she wants to separate the two things out and have this story going on over there, mom's story going on over there, and hope that the two are never compared, would be my thought there. But then Henrietta does say, the bus is leaving, mom is underneath. K-Dub says, I love this channel, which is that one there. Thank you so much for that, K-Dubs. Great to hear that you are enjoying it. And I do hope, you know, it's really, I don't get up in the morning to rip Laura on at all. I want to share some of this with people so that they really learn something about it. Stir Crazy, who has been here since the start, so thank you for being there. When she says with my mom, it's the same way she said it on the body cam footage, LOL. Oh, the infamous body cam footage. I remember that one. And just as a factual one, tea time, a few folks said this. Her email signature included CEO of Quartet Farms, as well as her podcast and TED Talk. That's that company that all of a sudden she's very at arm's length with it. Any ones came in there. She gets £2,750 a month plus free from her parents, plus free room, board, heat, water, etc. Yeah, I mean, I am no lawyer, but I would love to know if that is considered earnings, or whether that is not earnings. There's, you know, legally that is not that case. I'd love to know that. So there you go. I think we can see what is very important to her. I'd say Clayton Eckert is number one important thing in her head. And the big message that was really, really important for her to get across is she hasn't paid anything into any of those businesses, and she didn't get paid in those businesses, which is why she goes to them and goes extra with them and goes over them again and again and again. And there are certain subjects that she wants to avoid. And she's very, very interesting on choosing when she does know what an interest in the business is and when she doesn't know what an interest in the business is. Stir Crazy, I haven't had a chance. I didn't even know there were two new Medium stories yet. I knew there was one, which I didn't really like the look of at all. I did not know there was another one, but I would love to dig into some of those. Do let me know in the comments if there's any interest in doing those, or if there's anything else that you guys would like me to have a look at. So that is it. Please subscribe. It could change your life. I heard from someone this week who was facing a real big life situation and sent me some messages they'd been sent and went, I'm not liking these messages, am I right? And I hope they made the right decision based on what they've learned from this channel, because, yeah, it seems like everything they were picking up on, I agreed with them, was stuff to worry about. And that's, if you subscribe and you learn over and over again new concepts and seeing the same ones over and over again, you start to see the patterns forming. So do subscribe to this channel. Like I say, if you want to go deeper, become a member of the channel. And How Words Work is the podcast that could teach you how to grow your authority, your credibility, and really how people see your confidence in yourself just through making some small changes to how you talk. I think that's enough for now. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word. And remember, the truth is always in the words.